Hello and welcome. This is Kishkisan, and today I'll be talking about a new deck that I made. So I'll start off with a warning here. I'm not really known for creating fires of creation decks, so this is really very new to me. But I played a form of this deck in a previous tournament. It was an in-house KG tournament, and the deck was very impressive to me that I decided to work on it. So it really just starts off in the same way as the usual yellow blue snakes decks that are going around, the rainbow snakes, but it doesn't play rainbow. It plays fire creation, but it still plays a lot of the artifacts that support the enchantments. Now this is kind of a very weird deck. We still play the singing serpent, so the serpent den, and these three enchantments, along with the two home field advantages, are all the enchantments that this deck plays. So it's an interesting idea here to play the singing stones as well as the ulama rings for the artifact synergies rather than focus on the enchantment synergies. And we can do a lot of weird stuff in this deck. I think I'm not really sure on whether Contagion is more correct or the Annulus Fabricator. It feels like both of these are possible possible to play in this deck, and the Annulus Fabricator can really just grind out a lot of games when we just keep getting copies of our artifacts. In fact, the games that I'll be showing will have the Annulus Fabricator version. Uh, it's basically just the only difference between the decks. And the Annulus Fabricator is very nice in this deck because the Singing Stones are very cheap, so we can keep copying the Singing Stones. And might look a bit memeish to keep doing that, but when we are fully set up with the Serpent Dens and the home field advantage, the Singing Stones are basically one mana Ulama rings. So it really can really just go out of hand very quickly. Now to go over the deck, we have the Turbo package with the Norn data cores, as well as the Frecky sidecar, who try to cheat out some stuff and rush them. It's a very interesting deck design. It has been employed by a lot of very successful turbo decks, like the Turbo Kraken and the FoC loop. So this is the core with the blue. We play all these artifacts that try to either buff our enchantments or give us a lot of mana. And the board control tools like Thunderclap and Magnus. And the Svin here is played instead of Kara, but that's because of the enchantments that we have. But yeah, we can definitely try switching some things around, as I'm not really sure about a lot of the choices here. And the Svin is definitely one of those choices that look a bit weird in a non-rainbow deck. And the Goldvix Grace is also kind of a card that's really sometimes very difficult to get value from, but other times it just wins the game out front. As the 14 heal is just sometimes is just much more important than the card advantage that the opponent has. As the way the game works is that we only lose when we're at zero life. It doesn't matter how many cards are in our hands or in our opponent's hands. So as long as we're able to utilize the 14 life and minimize the amount of cards the opponent gets, so it's fine to play, especially with the ramping that we can do. And we can do a lot of crazy plays with all these with the Golvix base as well as the horn. We can definitely try fitting in a Borealis bridge. As a Borealis bridge, it can really serve as a an extra horn in some sense. But yeah, let's not stray too far from the deck. And for the yellow core, we're playing the Serpent Dens. The Serpent Dens are really nice here with the Model of Duality. Model of Duality can just deck us out with the amount of draws we're going to get when we have our setup. So it's usually a bit tricky to get the Model of Duality setup, as setting it up on a turn where nothing is happening on the board is very difficult. But once we set up with the Model of Duality and the Serpent Dens, there's really no stopping this deck. I think I'm gonna remove the Contagion here and add the Annulus Fabricator, as I want to talk about the Annulus Fabricator. So there are a lot of neat uses with the Annulus Fabricator. We usually don't want to play it early, as it's one of those very grindy artifacts. And there's something that needs to be noted here. We have a lot of artifacts and we don't have a lot of minions. So part of the reason for that is that Singing Stone and a lot of these artifacts are pretty cheap. If you look at the artifact hosts, we have most of them at around 2 mana, with 6 of them at 2 mana and only the Singing Stones at 1 mana. So we can rely on the Forgelings instead of minions, actual minions, and that's made even more as a reliable strategy because of the Annulus Fabricator. In the mid to late game, we can just keep copying our cheap artifacts like the Singing Stones, which is always very nice because uh, the Singing Stone just gives a Forgeling at the very least, which is at the very least very impressive, and we can just keep generating ever larger Forgelings with the Annulus Fabricator in this way. And I used to be playing the Garland Arbor here, but I'm not really sure about playing the Garland Arbor instead of more minions, early game minions like the Venom Fang Mutant. And the games that I'm going to show off have the Garland Arbor in them rather than the Venom Fang Mutant. But after some advice from fellow players, I decided to add in the Venom Fang Mutants, as the Arbors were just really just heal, as we don't play a lot of Omens. I think only the Arbors as well as the Fabricators are the Omens. But yeah, I'm really not sure about a lot of the choices here, but I'm really just presenting the core idea of the FoC with the Serpent Dens and the home field advantage, along with the Singing Stone, which is the core of the deck, really. And perhaps there's a lot of refinement to be made. And the Ulama Ring is one of the strongest artifacts in this deck, right after the Model of Duality. And the Bob Vaquero is it looks kind of cute in this deck, but it's a way to make use of the excess mana from the Norn Data cores, which is very nice. We get to draw and deal damage. We're going to be dealing about 3 to 4 damage on average with Bob, but that's not too bad, as we're also drawing a card. A Misanthropia, uh, basically in every slowish yellow deck, the twins, because the twins are just broken. And Zumara here feels a bit weird as well, as it's usually a rainbow, played in rainbow rather than other buffs because of the abundance of enchantments in rainbow. Playing these 5 enchantments makes Zumara feel a lot more viable in this deck, but it's still also not an inclusion that I'm very sure about. And the Sapo, of course, is one of the strongest minions in the game. Matryoshkas, the main use of Matryoshkas is because the Forgelings can search our deck for artifacts So playing green artifacts when we are splashing for the home field advantage is nice because we can always find a green gem to burn for, and we can always uh, and we can choose to not draw the Matryoshkas afterwards with the forgelings. I mean, we can draw them and play them, but we usually don't want to. Uh, we want to burn them to be able to play the home field advantage. But if we have a slot open for an artifact, we can definitely play them. So one thing to note about this deck is that we play a lot of artifacts. So we're going to be breaking artifacts a lot. We're going to be replacing a lot of artifacts. So it's really matchup dependent, but some of our artifacts really have limited usefulness in some matchups. If we get a Singing Stone early, and we're not finding our enchantments early as well, we can break the Singing Stone if we have to. The Prizing Necklace as well is one of the artifacts that we don't care about much, as it's really just for the draw, and the shuffling an enchantment from your hand into your deck is kind of nice, but it's really not that good of an artifact. We can always just replace it. And it depends on the matchup, really. But the Matryoshkas as well are something that we want to replace. We never want to replace the Llama Rings and the Satellite as well. Maybe there are some matchups where the Satellite is not that good. And there are definitely times where I had to replace the Model of Duality out of fear of decking myself out or against decks that play Stretcher, where the Model of Duality is just not worth the damage that we're taking. And the deck has a lot of depth to it, but at the same time, it feels a lot on the simpler side, as the game plan is simple and we just develop the serpents, we play these artifacts, and we play the forgelings. And it's a very grindy deck, and I enjoy it quite a lot. So I'm going to show off a couple of games of this deck. It's not exactly the same version, but the versions are sufficiently close with the exact same core that I think the games are relevant. And I hope you enjoy these games. And the first game is against Ano Natsu, and he's playing a yellow red uh, artifact deck as well. And I'm not sure if he's playing a similar idea to ours. He does not play the serpents. He plays more of a centrifuge with the uh, with with the stretcher and the dragon tooth. I actually don't think dragon tooth and the stretchers. Yeah. So this is the version that I was talking about. The different version of the same deck. Sufficient. It's not different from the deck that it showed off, but plays the Garland Arbors, and it plays a lot more artifacts, which I've been told is not correct in FoC decks. So what's happening is really just nonsense. Nothing is really happening. We got the Serpent Den early, but this is just these are all just throwaway minions. They're not posing any threat here. And one thing to note is us finding data core early is really one of the strongest things the deck can do. We also have the model dualities online, so we're both going to draw a ton of cards, and he also has the Kraken. So yeah, the game is definitely taking a while to get started, and this is where we finally have some pressure on the board. And I think this positioning for the Cleavagy was wrong, as I allowed the twin to go deal damage this way. And I was very afraid of that Enchant Eater. I was very happy to draw the jamming satellite there. as I really didn't want to have my snakes be killed off. And I found the second serpent den, and we can definitely just play the serpent den here. And yeah, I don't know what is this. I think this is a bug. But yeah, yeah, I have no idea what the hell are these things. So yeah, we're just trying to kill the enchant eater here. We have the Sapu, and we're gonna kill the enchant eater. I really don't care that much about the damage we're taking to the face, as there is no way that the opponent has a way to wrap up the game. Maybe with somehow with a ring master, but it just feels surprisingly safe against this board, even though I'll be very scared. But the serpents are acting as blockers, and that twin no longer has overrun. But yeah, and the jamming satellite is always very sad to see when we play Sapple, as it just means that we can get Sappled, which would really suck. And I'm really happy we didn't get Sappled here. And this Sapple just killed two of our snakes, so this is going to go face, and we're probably going to lose the jamming satellite if we don't try to protect it somehow. I decided to protect it by replacing the Garland Arbor. So now our jamming satellite is safe, and if something gets destroyed, it's the Garland Arbor now. And yeah, we play the another one of those forgelings, and I really have no idea what is this bug. So it's looking very. It's, we're definitely almost set up with the complete setup. We only need one thing, one serpent den, as well as just the second home field advantage. But and we're really just automatically drawing with the model duality each turn. And here comes the stretcher, and we're going to be taking a lot of damage from the stretcher here. And yeah, we're just feeling very liberal with replacing artifacts in this deck, as we really just don't care much about the Garland Arbors, as we don't really play omens in this deck except the Angus Fabricator, and the Angus Fabricator was already found. And the Garland Arbors just look for themselves, so we can definitely find the draw, but they're definitely the least value out of all the artifacts in the deck. And we set up the Annulus Fabricator early. Maybe that's not correct in general, as there's really no good targets for it here. But we don't really need targets here, as this is going to be a very grindy game, as FoC against FoC is usually very grindy. But the argument could also be made to replace the model of duality, as the opponent played Stretcher. But I was thinking that I'd be able to break the Stretcher in a couple of turns, so and the duality would just help me, help me in that direction. So yeah, I think here was a misplay. I miscalculated the mana. I thought I'd have enough mana to play the Forge Link, and I think I was one mana off. I think. And yeah, the jamming satellite was just very sad to see here. And and yeah, again, we don't really have a good target for the Annius Fabricator, and we quickly just. I think this was probably a misplay. I should have kept the Serpent Den there, the Serpent on the Serpent Den, and suppress. And I didn't even need to suppress here. And yeah, if you look here, this is not a board that's usually fun to see. Uh, we are so behind on the board, but we have these insane blockers that keep getting generated every turn. and we're just gonna keep buffing them with the singing stones, and we can get more singing stones with the Annulus Replicator. So this is one of the most ridiculous things that the deck can do, and we're already just copying the singing stone. And we can see a 12-12, and the opponent really doesn't know what to do here. It's not easy at all to play against this. And yeah, still looking very scary for us, especially being at 4, but we thankfully we have the Wonder Drug. But at this point, I think we're done drawing, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm going to replace the. Yeah, I didn't replace the Model Dual here, as I thought I can soak up some more damage. But I think the opponent is going to play the second Stretcher, and at that point it's going to be very scary for me. I decided to instead replace the Model of Duality, as we can see. And we're having all the mana here. And we don't even care about the Serpents anymore, because look at this. This is a 14/14 that's going to be able to attack next turn. Unlike the Serpents will still have to spawn and then be able to attack the turn after. So this is just the Singing Stone just spiraling out of control. And maybe this block was not correct. Maybe I should have blocked with the Forgeling instead, or maybe I should have blocked on this lane. But I was forcing the opponent to deal with this in particular, which is very hard to deal with because of the 2 armor. And the opponent would have to deal with this and then ignore the 14/14, then 5, and the 6/5 on the board. But yeah, it's also worth noting that the armor that the Xenomar gives is permanent. So this has permanent armor 1, which is I think is going to be relevant this game. And yeah, it forces the opponent to spend a lot of resources to deal with the Xenomar, which I'm really fine with. I think I think I think this was correct in this sense. But yeah, the opponent is just trying to block, but the Forgeling has Blast, so and we're gonna break the Ulama Ring here as we're going to get a fourth Singing Stone. It looks something that we don't really see every day. 4 Singing Stones, and they're actually being relevant. So that's very nice to see. And we're seeing that the Forgelings are becoming really hard to deal with. We're just spamming the board with Forgelings, and the playing them on the enchantments, and the enchantments are getting buffed from the Singing Stone. And we didn't even play an Ulama Ring this game. This is all just the Singing Stone. So we broke the Ulama Ring, and it killed the Kraken. And here the opponent played the Sable, and yeah, we have to deal with the Sable, but I wasn't really in a hurry, as I was still feeling very safe, as not a lot of stuff can take out whatever we play. Even if we played a Reconstruct and close it today, it would be very difficult for the opponent to deal with, as uh, as these are going to be 5/5, I believe. Yeah, they're going to be 5/5. It's very risky still because of all the rush stuff the opponent plays, but it's just trying to show that the Singing Stones are really spiraling out of control here, and thanks to the Turbo package for enabling a lot of these ridiculous plays here. And that 1/1 looks really weird in this board, but it's becoming relevant because of the 7 ring ritual. And 7 ring ritual healed us for 6, I believe. Yeah, and we're getting 7/7s every turn. And we're finding the horn here, and us having all the possible mana is just very funny. And we're definitely winning next turn. If we had the blue gems necessary for Horn, we'd have won already. But yeah, there's no stopping whatever shenanigans we're doing here with all the infinite mana that we're having, and we really turned the tide of the game in our favor. Even though the opponent played Stretcher, and we're a very slow deck, as we can see, in a slow and grindy deck, which Stretcher should be able to kill in theory. But we outvalued the opponent so hard. I'm not sure if the opponent made any misplays along the way, but it's very possible, as we definitely didn't look in the best of positions a couple of turns earlier. And here we just one turn away from lethal. And the horn is nice because even if the opponent has the drugs, it wouldn't really matter, as this bad boy is swinging for 30, and the serpents, the serpents from the serpent den are swinging for 14, and we can even just have a ton of mana to play reconstruct here, and that token reconstruct is going to be a 5/5, I believe, or a 6/6. I'm not sure. And yeah, there's basically nothing the opponent can do. Even a misanthropy is not enough against a 15/9. And yeah, the opponent is not doing a lot of, is not doing a good job with the blocking here. And we have the thunderclap to finish it off as well. So the horn was here overkill, as we would have had lethal even without horn. So yeah, this is a game showing the things going in our way, which is definitely how we want things to go. And it shows the late game potential of this deck, as I don't really think that if this deck is able to get to the late game, I don't think we can ever lose from a position like this. As the known data cores, they provide a ton of mana, and our reconstructs are becoming very significant because of all the singing stones and all the buffs, and the the uh, the enchantments just keep generating tokens every turn, uh, which scale very nicely with our artifacts and the home field advantage. And yeah, this is a very grindy deck, and it's also a very fun deck. And I hope you enjoy this deck as much as I do. I would have loved to cover a second game on this deck, but as you can see, the games are very long already. And yeah, if you have any questions about the deck, or suggestions for me to make about for the next videos, for either deck suggestions or questions regarding any of the decks that I play, feel free to contact me either in the comments on YouTube or on Discord. You're very welcome to do so. And I welcome you all to try to work around with the core idea that I have here with the singing stones and the home field advantages and the serpent dance in an FoC core rather than a rainbow core. And maybe there's something really good to be had here. I think it's very close to being a completely refined deck. It's a very interesting idea. So yeah, this is gonna be it for this video. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And I'll hope to see you in my next video. And I really hope you enjoy watching my videos. Thank you all for watching.